Okay, hello. For those of you who are joining us via Zoom, we're going to get started. I guess everybody is calling in, one person. We're going to get started in a few minutes. Hello, I'm Dr. Paget, and out there are the people at the meeting. And so we'll get rolling here in a second. Let's see, so I've got to join. Okay, if anybody is, let's see, we got 3 people on the phone who are muted, and Dr. Butler, who's also muted. So just stand by. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes. I'm going to pull up the agenda, and then I guess there's no point in doing a screen share since most of the people have called in. So I'm just going to jump right into the PowerPoint and one more thing. We're ready to rock and roll. Okay, let me get rolling here. Oh, no. Oh, shoot. Man, scared me. This new Microsoft 10 or whatever it is, not like I think it doesn't work well. It doesn't work well with our setup here. You can hit that and it'll go off somewhere and you can't get back. All right, I came back. Okay, so let's get rolling here. Here's our agenda. Try to keep this short and sweet today. So I'm going to, we're going to start off with just an overview of the implementation grant, just so that we know, see some new faces here, so that we know what's going on. And I'll give some objectives and some of the main things that we have to do. Oh, we have someone. Wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Everybody should be muted. Okay, so we're going to start off just with the synopsis, just to get everybody up to speed. This is being recorded, so for those of you who are, for anybody who misses the meeting, it's being recorded, and I'll have it available at a later date. So we'll start off with the brief presentation by yours truly. I'll give a latest update on the planning grant, on the implementation grant. And then I'll talk about our cluster grant meeting on March 21st and 22nd, earlier this week. Dr. Alexis and I, and then Ms. Reed will give a presentation, and then Dr. Dark will give a presentation, and that'll be it. So just so the United Negro College Fund received $50 million from the $50 million, I can't remember, $50 million in funding to support the an initiative to improve the performance outcomes for HBCUs. And so the Lilly Foundation is where the funds come from. So the main initiative or the main objective is to improve our performance outcomes. So for instance, right now at Tennessee State University, our 4-year graduation rate is 8%. So obviously that can be improved upon. Our 6-year graduation rate is 33%. So that can be improved upon. We want to get those numbers up. And so over the next 5 years, we're going to develop a number of strategies to increase those numbers. We need to increase enrollment. At TSU, our enrollment's been pretty much flat for 10 years. We've been right at 9,000 students for 10 years, while other institutions in our cohort, MTSU, Austin P, East Tennessee State University, have all grown over that same period of time, while we have remained flat. And because we are a tuition-driven, 70% of our funding comes from tuition. The more students we have, the more funds we have, and vice versa. So, we want to get retention rates up, largely because our funding is also based upon these figures. So we're in a performance-based funding period now. We used to be funded, up until about 4 years ago, we were funded based upon total numbers of students or total number of FTEs. But now our funding comes from the state based upon our enrollment, retention rate, graduation rate, and other indicators. The bad news is that amongst our cohorts in Tennessee, we're in last place in every category, which means that we lose millions of dollars every year. But through this initiative funded by the UNCF, if we can improve upon these figures, we'll get millions of dollars. We'll gain millions of dollars. There's a lot of money at stake here for what we're trying to do. Also, for our student outcomes, we want our students, when they graduate, to be gainfully employed. So not only TSU, but HBCUs nationwide are challenged in this respect. A lot of our graduates, an unacceptable number of our graduates wind up in careers that are relatively low paying. And some of that is by choice. A lot of our students, because we're HBCUs, are mission-based. We go into fields such as education and social work, and where we're trying to do the greater good in those fields don't pay well. So sometimes people take on low-paying careers by choice. It's a calling. Yes.
I don't think people make an education because, it's a low-paying job. But I think they make an education because we have to have teachers if we want to.
Oh, yeah.
If they have that, but I don't think the pay is as low now as it may have been. It's around $20,000. That's just in Tennessee, but that's different in other places. It's more in Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, comparatively, like if you align all the starting salaries from top to bottom, the liberal arts and education tend to be at the bottom, while the STEM fields tend to be at the top. So part of that can be explained by people's choices, but we can hopefully have better outcomes in terms of our median earnings upon graduation. Not that it's all about money, but So, but that's one of our measures. Okay, so that's what the grant is all about, improving our outcomes for our students. And it's all about the students. That's really who it's all about. And it's not just us. There are 24 other institutions involved in this endeavor. And so we are going to engage in a lot of strategies. Very quickly, we met with our partners. We're in a cluster with Morgan and Norfolk State, two large state or relatively large state HBCUs. We are unique in that this is a United Negro College Fund program. And most of you all probably know that the UNCF is comprised of small private institutions like Fisk, Spelman, Morehouse, Bennett, Benedict, Lemoyne-Owen, those small schools. So this initiative is the first time that the United Negro College Fund has partnered with non-UNCF schools ever. So this is new for everybody. We've had a few bumps in the road, but that's to be expected when something's new. So we met actually with our partners, Morgan State and Norfolk State in Baltimore this week. Dr. Eloise Alexis and I, who are the PI and co-PI on this project. And one of the first things that came out of that meeting is going to be our first objective, and that is to purchase Educational Advisory Board software, or EAB. What that software does is it allows us to look backwards as many as 10 years and look at our performance outcomes to set a baseline for where we are now. So for instance, what we can do with that software is look at, what happens to first semester freshmen who fail at least one course. So we can look at what are called predictive analytics. So studies done by other institutions indicate that if a first semester freshman fails one class, 80% of those freshmen don't come back in the fall, right? So those are students who have not completely flunked out of the university, but they're still, oops, I failed a class. And ordinarily, we might not intervene right away. Ordinarily, we might say, oh, let's wait till after that student comes back the following fall. Of course, that student might not be coming back the following fall, then they're gone. So what some institutions have done as an intervention is they have an immediate intervention after the first semester of the freshman year. And just at the beginning of their second semester, pull that cohort in and say, hey, you failed one class, that's not too bad, but let's try to get you a little bit better so that you'll come back in the fall. And using that software, other institutions have significantly increased their freshman retention rate, which we've learned through research that the freshman year is the most critical year, and that's like the foundation. I mean, if we can get our freshmen, if we can get up to like an 80% freshman retention rate, that won't solve all of our problems, but that'll solve everything else will go up from there. Our graduation rates will go up. Another interesting discovery that we made through research is something called the murky middle students. So these are students who have between maybe a 2.3 and 2.7 GPA. And ordinarily you might think, oh, they're okay. They don't have a 1.5, they don't have a 3.5, but 2.3, 2.7, they're okay. But by using the EAB software, other institutions have parsed out that cohort and have shown that a significant number of those students end up not finishing for whatever reason. And so the goal now is to create a sophomore level program so that in addition to the immediate intervention after the first semester for freshmen, when those classes get into their sophomore year, we just don't leave them. Say you got a 2.3, 2.7, you're good, you're gonna be okay. A lot of those students end up not being okay. And so the goal is to get those students into a sophomore level program. So if they do have a 2.5 or 2.7, let's try to get them some skills, get them up to 3.0 and above. Because once you start to do that, those students will persist and graduate. If you leave them alone, they oftentimes drop out. And that's millions of tuition dollars that we could have here instead of going away when these students no longer continue at the university. So that's the first thing that we're going to do is move along and person that software. We're going to convene a technology committee And so the technology committee is going to work hand in hand with our CIT department in getting that EAB software up and going. Morgan State and Norfolk State University both already use the EAB software platform. And so we need to align with our partners so that we can have a cross comparison of our student performance data across the 3 institutions. And so we're very excited about that. Yes.
With EAB, is EAB?
Yes, Educational Advisory Board.
How will that interface, or will the advisors have access to that? So not just us, but would you work with all of the different systems they have put in place to the early detection? They just have all these different systems now, and will
I'm not sure about that. I mean, that's why we'll have to have IT working with the EAB representatives. The good news is that EAB works very well with Banner. So that's the good news. So we should have a pretty...
Because we need to be kind of infiltrated into everything that's already being done, because we don't want to be kind of this side little people who have access and know how to use it, but we have all these other advisors.
Yeah, well, the EAB isn't necessarily an advisement package. It's more of an analytical package.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have other, I think we're looking at something called Handshake, and right now we have Tiger Track and Advisor Track and that.
So when we identify them with these predictive analytics, and we'll just let their advisors know.
Yeah. Actually, what will happen is we will use the outcomes of the EAB to develop intervention. Yeah, at that point. And the intervention can come from student affairs, the student success center, or any place like that. And so, like for instance, when they have the mid-semester freshman interventions, that can come from usually maybe academic affairs, student affairs, and that software allows us to very quickly, immediately after that fall semester, identify that cohort of students. And between the end of the fall semester and the beginning of the spring semester, if any of us want to volunteer to be a part of that intervention that takes place at the very beginning of the spring semester, so perhaps while we're in that faculty institute time period, maybe perhaps bring some of that cohort of students back early and just give them whatever they need to get to prevent them from failing any more classes. And it could be as easy, as simple as, maybe they just don't know how to take notes, or maybe there's no class on how to take notes, or there's no class on how to study for college. And that's essentially what we would do. And so if you take a student that might have, flunked one class, say, hey, what are you doing? How'd that happen? What happened to that class you failed? Okay, well, why don't we try this, do this differently? Get those students during the spring semester to not fail any classes, then that's going to significantly increase the likelihood that they'll be back in the fall. But if there's no intervention and they, instead of failing one class in the fall, fail 2 classes in the spring, chances are they're not coming back. 80% of them don't come back.
And so who's going to be responsible for doing that? In terms of teaching them how to take notes or how to study? Is that part of this program?
Yeah, definitely. So we will work with Student Success Center, tutoring services to develop that kind of program, or any of us who are faculty on this committee who want to be involved with that. That's fine.
The point is that they already have those things there.
No, we don't. That's the whole thing. We don't have that kind. But we have to justify the intervention with the data. We can't just say, and we have to identify the students who are going to participate in the intervention using the software. We can even look at, say, first generation students. And so we could create a first generation student program that says, okay, let's just, regardless of how they're doing, let's have a meeting, how you doing, give you some pointers, because, the first generation students don't necessarily have, the same level of support necessarily as a student that has 2 parents that graduate from college, 1 parent. And so we're going to develop our interventions over the next 5 years using the software to identify the students that need the help. Right now, we really don't know. Another thing that we talked about.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because I guess when I hear the term we, I'm not sure what that means. Just the persons who are the coordinator of the grant is going to do that, or is that going to be part of our responsibility and faculty in on this?
Oh, I'll get to us in a minute. I just wanted to lay out I'll get to this. Just the whole thing. So also there's the matter of the freshman orientation class. So all three institutions are going to work on some form of getting freshman orientation to be more career focused, or that University 1000 class. And so that's going to involve those of us who taught the class before. I think Attorney Jackson pretty much has that class under her purview, and of course, Dr. Guthrie. We're all going to have to at some point look at that. But what we can do with the software is take, I guess we've taught freshman orientation for 5 years now, and we can look at, well, the students that passed freshman orientation versus those that didn't, where are they now? So if we can show that the students that did well in freshman orientation also have persisted at a higher level than those that did not, then we can say, well at least we can see this class is doing something for the freshmen. But right now, we really don't know. And that's the whole point of doing this. Yes.
Because a lot of what we're doing is great, and it sounds similar to what they did at TSU. And so, so I'm wondering if we can talk to them. And when they talked about identifying classes that were those benchmark classes, was the University 100 or 1000 one of those classes?
And I don't even know if they have that class at MTSU.
I'm thinking what they were saying was like, I'm in speech pathology or health science. There were certain classes they went in and they identified if the student did well in this particular class, then they targeted those students who did well in that particular class. Because if a student doesn't, I don't know if University 100, 1000 would be the course to say they got
those classes. That would be a little bit of my presentation, but those classes were identified across the TBR system. So we do know the predictive analytics were applied to the TSU curriculum.
Yes, so those would be some of the, in addition to the university, is it 100 or 1000?
1000.
1000, University 1000. In addition to that one, I'm wondering, because we were saying that, and I even asked Dr. Sims entitled, well, whatever
Dr. Paget.
information, the courses.
Hello.
The
Yes.
predictive courses to determine what.
We can't hear her.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question, we're recording this in the Zoom. The question was would the EAB software be applied to other classes besides freshman orientation, UNIV 1000? The answer is yes. Absolutely. So I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to say one more thing, and then we don't need to talk about all of it. I can send this PowerPoint out to the rest of you all, because I want to move on to next people who are supposed to be talking besides me. Thank you. As far as our, I'll talk about that. The last thing I want to mention is obviously about our group here. So we're the steering committee, and our primary objective for the faculty and students is to develop a series of modules that will connect the students to the career development center through the classroom. And so we believe that will make our career development center and its services much more accessible to students. So for example, there's a Tiger Track. I'll ask, how many of you students have a Tiger Track account? You all are the good students. The rest of the students, when I asked that question in my class, maybe one student raised his or her hand, maybe two out of 25 students. And so we've had Tiger Track for 7 years? And so,
They learn about Tiger Track.
excuse me?
How do they learn about Tiger Track?
Exactly, they're not learned about it.
Okay.
So,
So there's nothing at the university to help them learn about the Tiger Track. So some of it happen in the Tiger Track. Is that what happened? Okay.
oh, so that's how you found out about Tiger Track? Being on the committee. So-
I work in the student success center, so that's how I found out.
So the students, just to repeat that, the students who are here, who are part of our committee, said that they, through various means, just kind of happened to find out about Tiger Track. But what we're going to do, one of the issues is generational. A lot of us who happen to be older still communicate using email and putting up flyers. And for the younger generation, you just walk past flyers, you're on your phone, or it's just that old way of communicating just doesn't work. But we know that today's student is largely involved or engaged with mobile devices. And so we are going to develop modules that become part of course content that, I don't want to say force, but will make it, will be highly incentivized for students to use Tiger Track. So I was going to show I don't have time to get it, but a module I created is, in my classes, every week, students have to do article review. So they find an article anywhere, journal, newspaper, magazine, that has something to do with geography. I teach geography. And so ordinarily they would cite the article, write a 200 or 300 word synopsis on the article, parse out some keywords, and then they would add perhaps some references to the textbook that's related to the article, and that would normally be it. So the way that I changed it a little bit was, I said, in addition to everything else, create a Tiger Track account and then find an internship or a career opportunity that is related to your career plan and the article. And it's a graded assignment. So the students have to go in, they have to have a Tiger Track account in order to complete the assignment. And so what I found anecdotally is, again, most of the students didn't know what Tiger Track was, is, or whatever. But essentially, when they discover all of the great things that are in Tiger Track, they really get excited about it. They're like, wow, I didn't know this. I might apply for this internship. Whereas a lot of our students, too many of our students either wait till their senior year to start thinking about internships. And that's really too late, because the competition, I travel a lot, I go to conferences. I went to a conference in Seattle, and I ran into students that were at PWIs, predominantly white institutions, who happened to be Black students, but they had done 4 internships by the time they were getting ready to graduate, as compared to some of our students who might have done 1, none. And you can't compete against a person who's done 4 internships and you haven't done any. You can't do it. But by introducing our students earlier, then you can, beginning as soon as they get here, hopefully in freshman orientation, by the time our cohort of freshmen is here now, or maybe next year, comes in, maybe we'll have equal numbers. But if students aren't aware of all the opportunities that are out there, they can't apply. So that's all these modules are meant to do. And so that module sounds simple, but they should be simple, because hopefully I'm in geography. Somebody could take that same module, tweak it a little bit, use it in a history course, tweak it a little bit, use it in a psychology course. And so at the end of the day, we hope to have these modules online that any faculty member can download, and ultimately have these modules in every course on campus, whether it's mine, somebody else's, another person's idea. Every student will be linked to student services through the Career Services Center, through a portal that's accessible through the mobile device. So at the same time, so you can be Snapchatting, and then, oh, there's a career opportunity. Go back to Snapchat. Oh, maybe I can find a job here. So that's the goal, is to change the way that we communicate with our students so that our students can actually be in touch with the Career Services Center early on and consistently in order to take advantage of those services.
Could that be a job of the students who are on this committee?
Yes, the students, youth students. The reason that we have youth students is because, you know, some of us who are more senior aren't up on all the technology, and we need you all to critique the modules. You might say, oh, I would never do that. It's terrible. I mean, just say it. If it's terrible, it's terrible. I mean, we're not gonna hurt our feelings. So that's why you're here, is because we're no longer, we're not 19 anymore, 20 or however old you are. We don't know what's going on. I just found out about a group meet like a little while ago. I took 8 students to a conference in New Orleans last week, and I was trying to, and before I take students out of town, we have to have a face-to-face conversation, especially going to New Orleans during St. Patrick's Day weekend. And so, you know, some of the students said, well, Dr. Padgett, can you just email us what you, no, I got to look you in your eye and say, stay off Bourbon Street. I want you to look at me. Are you going to stay off Bourbon Street? Okay, because I don't want y'all to see me on Bourbon Street. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but I couldn't get an answer to email. I'm emailing people, I'm getting nothing back. So one of my students says, Dr. Padgett, why don't you do a group me? I'm like, a group what? So he got on his phone and put together a group me, and I sent a message out instantly. Boom, 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 boom. They all answered. I was like, oh, wow. So that's part of what we're trying to do, is bridge that generational gap. Okay, so for those of you who are listening in on the on Zoom, I'm going to bring up our next presenter, and I'm not paying for Zoom, so we limited to 40 minutes. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to create a new Zoom. Wait maybe about, after this one times out in about 7 minutes, wait a couple minutes, and then I'm going to start a new meeting with the same URL. So when this one goes blank, we're not ending, I'm just going to start a new one. So just wait a few minutes and then click on that same URL, or dial the same number if you dialed in, and then you'll get back in. Okay, are there any questions from any? Well, we're going to go right to Tina. So.
Unless you part 2.
Yeah, they're in the Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay. Can they see us?
Yeah, they do that camera.
Well, they can see them.
Oh yeah, they can see the audience.
No, they can. Yeah. What does that mean? Oh, it's
What's the
organization is the name of the company. It could be a nonprofit. It could be.
Okay, but she's in education.
I have to look at it and see what you're looking.
It's only one side of it, it's a student.
No, there's a student side, employer side, management side. I used to look at the management side, so. And they changed the interface, and since they've changed the interface, I haven't looked at the student side. Oh, let me get that. I have to look at it.
Yeah, where are you going?
Well, for starters, I just wanted to share with y'all a PowerPoint that I usually share with students, because one of y'all, or some of y'all asked how our students learn about Tiger Track and things of that nature. One of the things that we do is we have something called a Tiger Track tour. We, meaning the career development center staff, and we take that tour to the residence halls, because most of our students are, living on campus. So we'll go to Rudolph one day or 1 week, and then we'll go to Watson or Wilson. But here's the thing, not all students show up. So we can put the information out there for them, but they don't necessarily show up, even though we're right there. We go where the students are. One of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to make it where we have something called a single sign-on. So when the students enter TSU, they're automatically associated, or they're already in TigerTrack. And basically what we're doing is we're thinking about another software, which is called Handshake, which has all those integrated features because our current system does not. It's a little more user-friendly, it's a little more updated, it's a little more high-tech. So we're in the process of reconsidering our current TigerTrack into something we call Handshake. So once the students, they're registered, they have a T number, they're gonna already be into our Simplicity or our system to where we can start sending them emails. And maybe what we can do is send one email saying, you have signed on to Handshake, you are now affiliated, you will get this, that, and the other, you'll get internship information, you'll get career fair information, and so forth, whatever we have to offer. So that's what we're considering. We're highly considering changing that to Handshake. This is one of the PowerPoints that I share with students, and I'm sharing it with you because I just wanted you to see some of the things that this is really going to fit into your module. Now, this is just how, we start off, where are you from? It was from our boot camp. Are you all familiar with boot camp? So when I made a presentation, just kind of wanted to get them talking or whatever. So that's what that is. And this just tells them where they are. So show them where TSU was, somewhere over there, okay? And they really like seeing that. This is what I want you all to see, because when they first come in, they have to start career planning. So that definitely has to be your module, career planning. That piece needs to be in your career component. They need to learn about themselves, identify their skills, research career options, link their major field career, and know their values. All of those things work together for career planning. So that's going to be really the crux of your module with all those things. Do y'all agree? Okay. Okay. So the freshman year, someone mentioned they need to be familiar with the Career Development Center. We want them in there, like I said, I do boot camp, or we do boot camp, but that's just a small group of students. So we want all the freshmen to get involved with the Career Development Center because that's going to help them with their career component and their career planning. We want them to take the recruiter assessment. We've already talked about that many times in here. That's very important. And when students take that, they like to see that on paper. They like to see what their skills are, what their workplace values are, what their interests are. And register for TigerTrack. Like I said before, and you all mentioned this, how do they know about TigerTrack? We have like 8,000, 9,000 students, and not all of them are going to know about it because not all of them, some of them are commuter students, and some of them just don't show up to things. And then we have some students who just, they're just here on college to play college, so they're not going to register, they're not going to be involved. But the goal is to do the single sign-on, so when they come in, they're registered for whatever other technologies that's mandatory. They'll have access to us as well. So that's coming down the pipe. To attend career fairs, professional development workshops, and presentations. One of the things that we would like for you all to do is to put that on your calendar or integrate that. For instance, I'm going to tell you something that happened back in February, and it just happened this week. Employers were on campus and they interviewed our students. We had something called corporate mock interviews, and then we had the Thurgood Marshall Leadership Institute to come out and interview our students. 58% of the students who interviewed was not aware, or they were not aware of how to conduct a behavioral type interview, the STAR method. So that's what I'm hearing consistently with employers, that our students are not able to interview well, they're not able to tell their story. So that component needs to be in, on the module somehow, a mock interview, putting the mock interview on there. Writing skills as well, it's the 40 characters of the last generation. Well, you can't write like that. Believe it or not, they still want you to know how to complete a sentence. So that's another thing that that employers are looking for. Identify, soft skills. I know I've mentioned this before, but these soft skills are so important. They have to know how to team build. They have to know how to be thought leaders. They have to know how to think critically. And that's what those interviews are for. Those interviews are